Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov gang. Our three guests this evening: Amani Mustafa, the host of the Muslim Woman Show on the Al Hayat channel on satellite TV; Nonie Darwish, the author of the new book, The Devil We Don't Know; and Anni, Cyrus, a producer and actress. Ladies, welcome to the program.
My pleasure.
This evening we have a very special show. Our episode is called How Islam Ruined My Life. Now, this is the title of the show, and we have these three ladies that have been harmed and assaulted in their own way by Islam because they had their own experiences with Sharia law. But it does not mean that Islam literally ruined their whole lives, because this is also a story of healing and redemption. But these three survivors, you could say, of Islam are here to share their personal stories with us. And in the first segment, we're going to be speaking about the painful element of their lives. In our second segment, we're going to be discussing with our three guests their escape. And in our third segment, we'll be discussing the theme of redemption. Amani Mustafa, let us begin with you. Tell us a little bit about this particular theme, How Islam Ruined My Life. Tell us about your early years and your painful experiences with Sharia law.
All right. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me on the show. I'm glad to be with you. And really, when I thought about the topic you've chosen and the way you named it, How Islam Ruined My Life, I thought, you know, there are deep pains that I went through in my life, you know, growing up as a Muslim young girl and as a Muslim woman. But I think if I can't really go through all the details and, you know, events that happened to me growing up. But one thing really stands out to me. Growing up, as I was raised by my grandmother, who was a Muslim, of course, and raised me and taught me the rules of Islam and the teaching of Sharia, the problem was that I was always told not to ask.
Excuse me for interrupting. Where were you raised?
Egypt.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in Egypt. And women are raised not to be able to ask questions. We're told that we are deficient in mind and religion. Just we're growing up as babies, starting to wonder about life and God and our abilities and what we can do and what we can't do. And instantly our abilities and our eagerness to know more about life is stifled by a verse from the Quran, or a saying that Muhammad, or a quote from Muhammad's life. And that was, you know, had a deep effect on my heart. Something I always like to share, in our culture, we are raised to seek the presence of God in our life. We're always looking for God. So one of the things I remember when I was about 4 or 5 years old, I went to my grandmother and I asked her, where is God? And she said, oh, God is everywhere. She liked to talk to me about God and stories of the prophets and all that. And I said with eagerness, can I touch him? And she was terrified. And she forbade me from talking like that. And she said, Astaghfirullah al-Azim, God forgive her. Don't ever talk about God that way. And that left me with fear. That fear stayed with me all my life. Fear of Allah. And fear of, you know, getting out of the what the rules that Islam had put for me, until the time my mother actually converted to Christianity and was about to be put to death. And I tried to save her, so I started reading the Bible, and this is where the door have opened for me to understand a little bit more about freedom. But at the same time, that really brought harm to my family. My mother had to leave Egypt. I was left alone, and I had to face life with no support and a lot of oppression from the Muslim community, my father, my family, and eventually my life completely changed.
That's quite a powerful, moving story, Amani. Thank you, and we're going to get to you as well on the second part of this powerful narrative. Nonie?
Yeah, well, I survived Islam and Sharia. I was born in Egypt, also like Amani. And the first lesson I had, really a harsh lesson, was when my father died in the jihad against Israel. And people came to congratulate us that he's now a shaheed and he's in heaven. And that heaven has virgins. And I remember I was 8 years old, and all I said was, I don't want my dad to be with strangers in heaven. I want him down here with us. Mm-hmm. And people looked at me like I'm a kafir, like an infidel. And that made me really fear, why does my father choose to go to war and die, to go to heaven and leave his family, and leave us, leave his wife and children? And this brought, as I grew older, I understood that under Sharia, the priorities of Sharia is not the priority of father's number one priority in let's say the Christian culture is his wife and children. That's his number one priority. But in Islam, a husband's priority is to do jihad, and men who want to take care of their one and only wife and set of children, these men are laughed upon. They are shamed. And so Islam failed the family. It failed the wife. It failed the children, because they come second and third and fourth. I also grew up with polygamy. I have members of my family who married other women, and I have women in my family who were a second or a third wife. And I've seen the evils of polygamy and how it ruins the whole family and shatters the family, and the concept of one man, one woman is destroyed. I have that in my family. Mm-hmm. I've seen it, and it's a totally different concept of marriage. It's not a covenant between one man and one woman.
Thank you very much, Nonie Darwish. Annie, Cyrus, your experiences and where you were raised.
First to mention, I was raised in Iran, which beside having to deal with Islam, you have to deal with the fact that the country is ruled by the religion. So it's not that you have a choice to follow the Islam or not, it's that you have to follow it or you don't have a life. So that is the fear I had to live with, that if I don't, I'm not gonna lie, I never did believe in it, but I pretended, because if I didn't pretend, I wouldn't have a life. So the choices were to lie. I was trained to lie, because if I said the truth, I would be in trouble and my whole family would be in trouble. Which, to me, the whole hardest part was I was the only one in my family who was not a true Muslim. Everybody else was. They believed in it, they liked it, they followed it. I didn't. So not only I was an outsider in the whole community, in the whole country, I was also an outsider in my own family. So they literally disowned me for not doing what they say I have to do.
Annie, you said it was a secret, but you let your family know that you didn't believe in it?
Yes.
Eventually, right?
I wouldn't do the prayer. And you're in your home, your family will see that you're not doing it. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't cover my hair if a stranger knocked at the door. You know, there was no way for me to hide it. Mm-hmm. I could hide it from other people, but not my own family.
And you were shunned or punished, or there were certain...
yes.
You were kind of disowned to some extent.
I was completely disowned. They gave me to my grandmother, who was a lot less... I mean, she was a Muslim, but she wasn't forcing me to follow the whole...
Annie, what inside of you do you think at such an early age didn't believe what you were being told and didn't think it was true? Because usually you think that a young child believes what they're told, right?
Yes, but the very first question that came to my mind was when I asked, can I see God? And they literally beat me to the point that I couldn't breathe.
I think that's a very good way to make the transition to Amani. Why Why this angry God that you can't touch? What's the theology there? Because, I'm a Christian, and in our faith, we do have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. We do have a personal relationship with God. What is this all about? Is it that the human can never see God? He's inferior, he's not worthy? What is it exactly?
Not quite. I think, to begin with, Islam came to be exactly the opposite of everything Christ came to be, to do. And the opposite of what our faith teaches, Islam comes exactly with the opposite. A flip picture, because we know the devil wants to be a counter God. He wants to be against God. His fight is with God. His fight is with Jesus. So in the Islamic teaching, you will find everything to come the opposite to our Christianity. See, our relationship is straight with God, and God is our Father. Islam forbids adoption, so we will not have this relationship between us and God. You see? And
some could argue that this might actually be an evil force that wants to separate humans from God.
Yes. Well, let me tell you also, because God, our God is definitely not the Muslim God. And in Islam, Allah separated himself from his followers, his slaves, completely. They are on one level, he is on one level. He deals with them as groups, not as individuals. And these teachings are taught in the Quran and in Muhammad's teachings in Hadith and Sunnah. So as people, we want to come closer to God. So we go as young people. We don't know what to do. We go to our teachers, and first thing to hear is, no, you can't touch that subject.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even have an explanation.
Yeah, and so the human being feels very separated from God. He's an angry disciplinarian that you can never see.
Yes.
Whereas in Christianity, there's a Savior who truly loves us like a loving father and brother.
Right.
Nonie?
There's a point I want to make in what I suffered under Islam, an important one, which is a girl or a woman holds the reputation of the whole family in her hands. It's all, if she makes any mistake, she's dishonoring the whole family. And Islam, whenever, let's say, a rape happens, they never blame the boy. It's always the girl. So I remember many experiences in where, I'm not doing anything. I'm just standing and a boy's talking to me, and my mom just had to punish me that I was beaten, and just like you are. It's almost like it's my responsibility.
Yeah. Right.
If a boy comes to talk to me, it's my fault. It's not. And then so the girl holds the honor of the family in her hand. She's always blamed for it, and she's not supposed to only fear her family, but the public in general. Mm-hmm. You see that the whole society. There is nothing called minding your own business in Muslim culture. The idea of minding your own business doesn't exist. Your neighbors can spy on you. Perfect strangers can go. For instance, one time I was in a taxi cab, and the passenger with me was an American student. I was at the American University in Cairo, and believe it or not, the taxi driver asked me, "Is he your fiancé or your husband?" Mm-hmm. And it's very embarrassing when you live like you're a prisoner. Mm-hmm. Anything you do is a shame, brings shame.
Thank you, Nonie, and definitely with the themes that you're raising in this early part of your life about Islam ruining your life in the sense that there was no individuality, there was no privacy, there was a shaming. There was a painting of a God that was angry that you couldn't have a relationship with. And in many respects, this spoils the celebration and the ability to live life, obviously. Annie, closing words with you on what's on your mind to close the show.
Going back to what Nonie was just saying, one of the problems I was facing in my family was that the main thing for them was to find us husbands as soon as we turn 10, 11. Give them away so they won't do
Shame
anything
the
wrong.
family. So the shame goes to the
won't-
husband.
Exactly. So they are taking away. So as soon as you turn 10, 11, you're 10, 11 years old, just imagine you have to fear this fact that someday somebody's going to walk in and they're going to name him your husband.
And you're not really consulted whether you particularly
Oh, no.
like, you're not even a grown-up adult, but you're not even consulted whether you like this man
No.
or anything like that. And so this sounds like slavery and torture, but in our next segment, we're going to discuss what is very evident, that all three of you are not forcibly veiled or in a forced marriage somewhere because you escaped. And we will discuss Escape from Sharia in segment 2 tomorrow evening. Join us then.